Welcome to COM 555, Communication, Media, and Publics. I hope you like this course as much as I do. In this course, we will compare and contrast existing literature in public sphere theory and social movement studies. So when we talk about publics, we're talking about the kind of groups that try to bring about social change. Many of those groups we usually identify as social movements, which is why you will see me refer very often to social movements. We also want to situate social movements in their historical context to understand what's happening, how somebody is going to try to change society, change the world. You need to have a very good sense of the historical context of that movement. And then we will apply different theories to the criticism of social movements. And that's how the course is separated. It's separated by theories. So the first 2 weeks we will look at Burkean theory, then we will look at the theory of agitation and control, then we will move to the public sphere theory, then to theories of ignorance, etc., etc., etc. We will also analyze the relationship between social movements and the media. Clearly, since this is a program in communication and media, the media is always very key. And in today's age, it's very difficult to have a social movement without engaging the media. We will then analyze the role of new technologies within social movements. New technologies have really changed the way social movements work. There's a lot more reaching out to people, organizing on social media. At the end of the class, you'll prepare and deliver presentation summarizing and evaluating primary research, as well as do an original research project. This will not take the form of a paper, but rather a presentation that will be uploaded to YouTube. You will present original research in a format appropriate for academic conventions. So I want you to think of this last presentation in terms of what would you do if you were to present 10 to 15 minutes at a convention analyzing a movement. And lastly, there's always an ethical dimension to communication, and therefore we will keep in mind the ethical dimension of social movement. There are specific procedures for an online course. If you've already taken an online course, these will be familiar. If you have not, please pay attention to this part of the presentation. The most important thing is to select the posts button on the bottom of the page. That looks like a little thinking bubble. Each topic will contain an overview of what we're doing for the week, learning objectives for that week, and then the tasks and material that are key for that week. You will find detailed instructions about what to do in the task and material, so make sure you always check that section. Pay attention to due dates for different assignments. They will not always be the same. And also post the discussion boards in the discussion in task and materials. There are various discussion boards on iTunes U, but please use the ones that are in the task and materials section. Also post all assignments to LiveText or to the course's YouTube channel as directed. Check your LIN mail regularly for important announcements. That is where I will try to reach you if I need you. The requirements for this class are to read primary texts and research articles weekly. There's only one textbook, The Rhetoric of Agitation and Control, which we will use in week 3. Make sure you get that. And the rest are all articles that are either found in the library's database or on PDF on iTunes U. There will be weekly reactions papers to the primary texts. I'm assuming these will be 600 to 800 words. If they need to be a little bit longer, that's okay. But please make sure you have a minimum of 600 words. It will be practically impossible to do justice to the readings with less than that. The weekly discussion boards reflect on the theories and ask you to apply what you've learned to social movements. So how would you take what you're learning and apply it to social movements? You'll be doing one social movement at the end of the class, which you will analyze. The best thing, as soon as you can, if you've identified the social movement you want to study, is to use these discussion boards specifically to reflect on the social movement you will write about or do the presentation on. This will make your final presentation much easier to develop. You also will have weekly responses to article presentations. Starting on week 2, one of you will present, a couple of you will present every week. And by presenting, I mean developing an article presentation and uploading it to YouTube. You will only have to do one article presentation, but you will have to respond to all of them. So every week you will have to respond to article presentations. So that one academic article presentation is what I was just talking about. You each will be responsible for one of those. You will need to email me in week 1 what your 3 top choices are, and I will let you know what your selection is. There is also one multimedia presentation that is a final presentation on a social movement. What you'll have to do with that will be to take a social movement and use 1 or 2 at most of the theories that we study in class and analyze an event done by the social movement. You don't need to do the entire social movement, but you might want to analyze the web page of the social movement, or a demonstration, or maybe 2 demonstrations, or the way they've engaged with the media. This will become clearer as the course progresses. You also will have to respond to the multimedia presentations. The very last week of classes is just made up of the presentations uploaded to YouTube and your responses to all the presentations. And that concludes COM 555. Please feel free to email me anytime with questions. I look forward to having you in this course.